Woman from Missouri, Ms. Wagner, is also the chair of the Subcommittee on Capital Markets, is now recognized.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Yellen, as Treasury Secretary, you championed requirements that any deposit flows into Americans' bank accounts totaling as little as $600 are to be reported to the IRS. Increasingly, we are hearing the federal government is suggesting banks search private financial transactions using highly partisan political terms, or check to see if customers made purchases that could be associated with legal sales of like firearms or even religious texts. My question is this: has Treasury, including FinCEN or federal banking agencies like the Fed, FDIC, OCC, instructed financial institutions to search Americans' legal transactions in attempts to surveil their purchases?
Well, we received a letter from you, I believe, on this topic, and we intend to investigate fully and to respond.
Have you instructed banks and financial institutions to provide this information?
Well, FinCEN's job is to work with financial institutions to make sure.
Are they instructing, ma'am, financial institutions to search Americans' legal transactions in attempts to surveil their purchases?
I promise a thorough look into everything.
Well, this is really
occurred.
concerning, and I would hope that you get to it just as quickly as possible, Madam Secretary. Secretary Yellen, I'm going to give this a shot too, since we all have, on both sides of the aisle. The Financial Stability Oversight Council, of which you chair, Madam Secretary, you chair FSOC.
I'm aware of that.
In 2023, FSOC put out their annual report plainly stating that, and I quote, "The U.S. banking system remains resilient overall." And, I quote, "U.S. banks continue to have sound levels of regulatory capital." Do you still stand by these statements, ma'am?
As an overall statement, I do.
Then what is the need for the proposed massive increases in regulatory capital requirements from the Fed, FDIC, and OCC?
They have proposed regulations to enhance the safety and soundness of some.
But you just said that the safety and sound is there. It's resilient. They are well capitalized. It's clear in your, as a chair, your report.
Well, there are risks that that their guidance suggests could be handled better than it has.
All right, let me move on. Secretary Yellen, in a 2019 letter to Secretary Mnuchin and in 2021 testimony to the Senate Banking Committee, you said that activities-based regulation is the appropriate approach for asset management. Given the FSOC's recent guidance regarding the designation of non-bank financial institutions as systemically important, do you still stand by those public statements?
Well, I'm not sure that I said such a sweeping statement as you read. I don't know.
I have it right here. It's a letter.
I don't know if that's.
I'd like it into the record, please. This is your letter with those words, ma'am. So I would tell you to go back to your 2019 letter and then again to your Senate banking testimony in 2021.
2019, did you say?
In 2019, a letter to Secretary Mnuchin, and in 2021, your testimony to Senate Banking Committee. You said activities-based regulation is the appropriate approach for asset management. I want to know why we're finding, DEFSOC is saying that designations of non-bank financial institutions are systemically important. Clearly, others don't. Why do you believe FSOC did wrong that led to the courts vacating the MetLife designation in 2016, ma'am?
Look, so there is no preferred approach to how to handle a financial stability risk that's been identified. In some cases, and perhaps this is what I was referring to, if that's an accurate quote,
It is.
We are, for example, concerned about risks associated with money market funds.
Are you doing a cost-benefit analysis? Anything?
Excuse me. Can I We have been concerned about the pressures on open-end bond funds that can be forced to sell less liquid assets. These are industry-wide practices that are probably
court has already
best
vacated you once,
addressed
ma'am.
with activity-based approach.
Mr. Chairman, I yield
Secretary
back.
may-
Yes,
The
he's-
Secretary may respond in writing the remainder of the answer. The gentlelady's time has expired.